Memory is often selective. We take photos of the smiles, the laughter, and the beautiful moments. But life happens between those frames too, in the quiet moments between here and there, the difficult ones, when we are tired, hurt, or hurtful, busy, and caught in the flow, the ones we don't record. The camera shows one thing, zoomed in on what we prefer, but it's never the whole story, the lessons we had to learn the hard way.
Tobias,
Sí,
¿cómo llamas a mí?
sí.
Mucho o poco.
¡Mucho!
Mucho.
Sí.
Yo te amo a vos también.
Transparency and sharing, and compassion invite healing.
Hey, I've got to ask you a question. So, when you think about this world, you know, growing up in it, seeing everything that you've seen, your experiences, what's your major feeling about it? What's the first thing, like when you look back, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
That's overwhelming.
Overwhelming?
Yep.
Has it always been like that? At any point, has it started to change for you?
I'd say it's an ignorance thing. It went from ignorant to overwhelmed. See, it's like that.
Interesting. You know, when I was, well, before I say that, I guess my question would be is, what is, in your childhood, what was your biggest fear? What were you most afraid of?
It's not really clear cut. I feel like it's something that I've hidden from myself, but first one that comes to mind is abandonment.
Abandonment?
Seclusion, isolation, whichever way you wish to word it.
You know, when I was a kid, I had these series of thoughts, which eventually became like really like core beliefs for me. And it was like, the world sucks. Life is suffering. That's all there ever really truly will be. It's just struggle. Nobody understands. Nobody cares. Nobody's listening. Nobody wants to know. I'll never be able to get out of here. I'm stuck. There was this feeling of I'm stuck and I've got to get away, you know? I was always thinking that I got to be somewhere else. Some of these thoughts, you know, I carried them very far with me into adulthood. But this became for me like a known truth, you know? And I'll be honest though, I'm not there anymore. Things in life happen. Sometimes you reach these points where everything for you gets turned around and you have to start seeing things a completely different way. Or at least maybe you're inspired to, or sometimes, like in my case, you have no choice, you know? These things in life that seem natural, like natural blocks, hurdles in the road, like look at these trees right here, like it's like they just grew here. If I'm thinking about myself this way, or even my world or myself in this world, I can see they grew here to block my way. That's why they're here. And that's the way I actually saw it. Like, this inconvenience is here for me, you know? Like, I really did truly see it that way. But now it's just, you know, part of the journey, something to get through. Fear is a crazy thing, you know? When I think about it, there aren't too many fears that I had as a child that I've actually permanently gotten over as an adult, you know? I just leverage them differently now.
So what you're saying is that suffering doesn't come entirely from what happens to you. That it comes from mistaking your perspective and emotional processes as reality.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much.
And that causes impressions on how we interpret and react to things moving forward.
I'll be honest with you, it becomes increasingly difficult to change how we react to things, how we react with these impressions, because there's this confirmation bias that develops, you know? We have this way of thinking things will be a certain way, preparing for it, but then because that's the way that we're operating, we kind of manifest and mold our situation at hand into something that kind of looks like proof to us later on that our deductive reasoning is spot on, you know? So when it comes to remembering suffering, enduring or going through suffering, we're not just doing those things with the impressions that we have simply because it's not the most advantageous thing or just because it's not the most enjoyable thing. We're doing it because there's also something else that's very uncomfortable. And that's to ask ourselves, who is actually suffering? And most of us, we haven't really had the opportunity in our lifetimes so far yet to actually explore what that actually means. Who is suffering? I mean, within that soup of you know, your birth name came with a birth certificate later on. Then you have a passport from a certain country that's defined by imaginary lines, right? You have titles, you have degrees, and you have social expectations. All of these things we kind of put into this box of what we call I, or the ego, and we defend it because if we were to act for 1 second that we were not those things, things would get very, very scary. So fear then is one of the most logical things that we experience. And it's like ingrained into our language. And because it's ingrained into our language, it's ingrained into how we think and how we relate to other people. However, what I will say is that suffering actually helps us kind of break out of that for a second. Regardless of whether we realize it or not, suffering gives us the tools, it gives us the perspective needed to take our concept of I and what's going on one step further. We get the opportunity to experience fear, not embody it, you know? We get the opportunity to feel the fear and not identify with it. It's not easy, but whoever said that the things that are worthwhile in life would ever be easy? So ultimately, to be honest with you, I'm really glad that you're here. Not just here physically with me where we're standing, but I'm glad that you exist. I'm glad that we have this moment. Look at those mountains, you know? Witness that and realize we are here right now in space-time and we'll never be back here again, you know? And we get to take that moment and just put a pin in it for 1 second and practice gratitude. Why am I grateful that you're here? Because there is this quote that has been like weighing on me for quite a long time. And it says something like, the most significant burden that a child will ever bear is the unlived life of his or her parents. And when I look back on my life and I see how fear or the coping mechanisms that came with fear and the impressions that were made on my life, and I know that, you know, as I had you as a young father, you were there with me. I'll be honest with you, just even knowing that, I start to generate some fear, you know? Fear that maybe you have adopted some of my fears, some of my coping mechanisms. But I think that, you know, as I try to focus on what love actually means for me today, you know, I used to think that love meant making sure people didn't suffer, but today I see it more as being willing to witness somebody, holistically accepting them and respecting their, you know, their developmental process. But maybe you are the way that you are simply because of nature and not nurture. Maybe my impressions did not impact you as negatively as I think they did. Maybe my coping mechanisms weren't even as obvious as I thought they were, you know? I'm just glad, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be honest with you and transparent with you about it. So if in any way that was true, this talk right here, right now, this sunset right here, can be the beginning of a small sense of freedom, a seed, you know? So far, when I look back, for me, suffering has been the most useful thing that I've ever experienced. I hope you never suffer the way that I did. I hope that you suffer in your own ways. And I hope that you overcome them in your own ways. And I hope that anything that you experience in life, and the way that you grow and develop, goes well beyond anything that I could have imagined for you. And because you're still in the process of realizing yourself and developing yourself, I hope that whatever comes of your life goes well beyond whatever you imagine for yourself as well.